I got like around 5 to 6 offers, but the Syndigo is a good option. The major crux of the data engineering is the SQL. Without SQL, you cannot even imagine like this data field. How good you are like in PySpark or like writing scripts, that is fine. Because SQL is something like that plays a crucial role. It's been like 1 year I was into that course, around 1.2 years, and I can see the difference. Like being a developer, like around now 7.5 year of experience, where the expectation is really high from the organization. At that level also, I'm finding that course really helpful. Things are like very well structured. Core understanding or the fundamental understanding of say the Spark architecture, or how basically you are tuning your job, how optimized SQL query you are writing. So these things like that plays a very crucial role. That's why we need coaches, right? I mean it's not only the data field, it's the same everywhere. You need a proper guidance. You can just sit back and relax. So I mean, choice is yours, like how you want to like live your life. Either you want to be in the first compartment or you want to travel in general. So choice is totally yours.
Hey everyone, this is Mansa Nagraj from Trendy Tech. Welcome you to another interesting episode of Conversations with Big Data Experts. Today we have Amit, who is a senior data engineer at Syndigo, and he will be sharing his experience and knowledge about the big data engineering field. So, hi Amit, a very warm welcome. Thank you so much for taking some time out and joining us today. All of our audience will be benefiting from your knowledge and experience to succeed in the field of data engineering. So with this, we can get started with the session with your introduction. If you could give us a brief intro about yourself and your educational background, and also how you got into the data engineering field as such.
So first of all, thank you so much, Mansa, for this opportunity and for the podcast, teaching many others data engineers, so that they can get benefited from this. So starting from my journey, I have completed my graduation from WBUT in 2015, and right after I started working with CGI. So I didn't start from a data engineer point of view. I started as a Java developer. Basically, I was writing APIs. Then I moved to one of the company where I hired as a Java developer, but I got into a project of a data migration, and that kind of like interested me a lot. The challenges, the openness of the field. So that's how the journey started, and then it keeps on going, right from logic information to Oracle to Q2, and then to Synchron, and now it's Syndigo. So all across my journey, I work across various domains like banking, finance, retail. So one thing I understand is the field is very vast, and there are use cases that can differ a lot. So you cannot expect a single organization solving one use case the same thing you will get in other organizations. So that is one thing. Apart from that, you have to be very mindful of the domain, because data engineering is something, unless you understand the domain, you cannot get a good command on your tech stack. So that is one thing. Apart from that, like you have to be open in terms of learning, because say the core of the data engineering, when we say transformation, or say in terms of ETL, right? So we have extraction layer, like where we have multiple sources to get the data. We have transformations to write. We can use PySpark or Spark to like write the transformation logic. But again, now how the cloud is moving, right? We have multiple vendors like AWS or Azure or GCP. So you have to mindful that like keep your mind open in order to learn, because when you see in terms of services which they offer, it's similar, but it's all the name which got changes, or say like the a bit of different fundamentals which got changes. So that is what I can suggest, like in terms of my experience. And yeah, I mean it's a see, I can say, the way the data is changing, the way it is coming out. I can see like 4 years, if I see in 2017, it was not much hype, right? I mean it was more into Java. Data engineering is something like which is coming out, but now when you see the way it is coming, the volume which is coming, so say like in Syndigo, I'm handling somewhere like around terabytes of data. So daily we used to handle say like 2.7 2.8 billions of row. So it's a challenge in itself. Even like if you don't have a proper core understanding or the fundamental understanding of say the Spark architecture, or how basically you are tuning your job, how optimized SQL query you are writing. So these things like that plays a very crucial role in data engineering. And yeah, so this is what I can say, like in which like how you can approach, or like how you can look into the data engineering world as of now.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So, as you all are aware that Amit is, has got the opportunity to work with some of the top firms like Oracle and CGI in the past. So, do watch until the end to grab some real important interview tips on how to be successful in this field. So, Amit, as you mentioned, so because of the changing data scenarios and also the company's expectations as well, what, as per your extensive experience, should one be prepared on in order to succeed as a big data engineer?
Uh, so the major crux of the data engineering is the SQL, because you can say a body is like not complete without a soul. Even like you can say similar thing in terms of data engineering, that without SQL you cannot even imagine like this data field. How good you are like in PySpark or like writing scripts, that is fine, because SQL is something like that plays a crucial role. So let me give you a simple example. I was in Syndigo. There's a notebook which we used to run, okay, and that notebooks used to take around 70 minutes. So the major issue, what we figure out, that the join condition, it's a normal join which happen. Now we have a concept called indexing on SQL, right, where we are scanning the data directly, right. Now using index, you can cut down the time from 70 minutes to roughly around 2 to 3 minutes. So you can see the performance, right. I mean, because in cloud everything is related with money. So the less computation you use, the less resource you use, the less revenue, the less billing that is getting charged, right. So that is also adds a revenue in the organization, and that gives a lot of like advantage for the organization. Apart from that, I can say a person should be good with a language. If he is using Python, he should be good with Python. If he is using Scala, he should be good with Scala. Apart from that, you have to good understanding on the if say you're working on the cloud side, so you should having a good understanding on the services which you are using. So say like I'm using Databricks or Data Factory, so those are the services which are provided by Azure. So apart from that, you can also like get good into Synapse if your organization is using say like if you're using AWS, so you should be good with like Redshift, Athena. You should be good with like how you are storing data into S3. So those sort of things. Apart from that, also how you are integrating these services in your project. So say like just to give you example, say like you have blob storage in Azure, right. Now how basically you are mounting those storage in Databricks. So these are the basic thing which you have to be good with. Apart from that, as I already told, the domain knowledge is something like which you have to focus more upon. Understanding your data, understanding your source, where it's coming from, what sort of requirement, because data field is something like you are not alone. I mean, there are like many times you have to like deal with the cross functional different teams, because everyone has different understanding. So getting their requirements, like analyzing those requirements, and then based on your knowledge, like how better you can do it, how better you can do it, like in terms of the bigger picture. So this is one like which I can say that the candidate can be like mindful of. Yeah.
Perfect. That was a key takeaway.
Yeah.
Like you have to be updated with
Yes.
whatever the requirement is from the industry as
Yeah.
such. So, as per you, how important is upskilling or reskilling, I would say, currently? And how did you prepare yourself or update yourself with the data engineering skill set?
Sure. So we are into IT world, right? And we all know, right, it's not a static world. I mean, I started my career in 2015, and I still remember that time. If you have Java knowledge, core Java knowledge, right? I think it was Java 7, which was there in the market. And say you have any framework knowledge, like Spring Boot or Hibernate. So that's a good to go to get a job. But when you see now, I mean, even in terms of Java, right, the picture is there are expectation to be a full stack developer. You should be good with back end. Apart from that, you should also have knowledge on front end. So same way, even in terms of data, right? I mean, say initially if you are like only like knowing Spark, right, that is good. Like Spark and SQL will like do the job for you. But as the market is changing, right, as you see cloud is coming into picture, and more organizations are like using those cloud. So you have to reskill, because it's I mean, what I thought, it's a simple thing, right? I mean, it's a race, right? you have to be, either you can be a leader or you can just sit back and relax. So choice is yours, like how you want to live your life. Either you want to be in the first compartment or you want to travel in general. So choice is totally yours. So and now the benefit what you got as of now is the exposure towards internet, right? Everything is at your at your fingertips. You just have to Google. There are like a lot of YouTube videos. So I was also going through this phase, and the major issue for me is things were not aligned, or I can say structured. So just to give you example, say you are say I want to learn Spark optimization, because that was something which as my experience is growing, something which is very much getting used in the project. So I was not much aware, to be honest. I got some videos, but those were not helpful. Then I saw a post on LinkedIn. I messaged thinking, is it a good investment? Then he told you can just go for the course, and I am assuring you you will come up something different. And that's what the same thing happens. I just started as a beginner in terms of there are many loopholes, or I can say untouched concepts which are there in the data, which I was not aware of. But yeah, going through that course, that gives a lot of confidence. And the first which happened on-site to Dubai, and then even this time when I was interviewing, I got around 5 to 6 offers. But the Syndigo is a good option in terms of the work-life balance and the remote opportunity. So that interests me a lot. And also I can say listen to your teacher. So when the course content, I can say the assignments which were there, that is more than enough. So if you practice rigorously around 2 or 3, I bet you you will end up in some really good places. Because it's been 1 year I was into that course, around 1.2 years, and I can see the difference. Being a developer around now 7.5 year of experience, where the expectation is really high from the organization. So at that level also I'm finding that course really helpful, be it any small concepts or be it any large complex problem. Things are very well structured and very simply it has been explained. So that helps a lot. Apart from that, also the SQL series which is started, right? That's a really good thing actually. The questions which got explained there, from lead code and all, those things helps a lot. Apart from that, some blogs which I read in Medium, so that is also kind of icing on the cake, I can say. So yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. So as you mentioned, even though we have a lot of resources online, it is no match to a a guided path that is given by your guide or a mentor.
See, because when you start into any field, right? So say you came fresh out of college. Just to give you an example, when you came fresh out of college, you need a proper structure guidance, right? So it's if you don't get proper guidance, might be the same thing will take you a year to crack. Now if you got proper guidance, right, and proper support, you might achieve the same thing in 3 months or 4. That's why we need coaches, right? It's not only the data field, it's the same everywhere. You need a proper guidance. So be it guidance from your parents or be it guidance from your teachers. So that's how the things are. So that helps a lot, and that saves you a time, gives you more confidence, I can say. Yeah,
I true that, definitely. So how does a typical workday of a data engineer look like? What are the responsibilities, challenges?
So it depends again from organization to organization. So when I was in Synchron, things were totally different, because we were constructing the pipeline directly from scratch. So there it was mostly understanding requirement from different teams, stakeholders, the business owners. And then based on that coming up with a design, then working on that design, finding the proper tech stack in order to solve those problems. But in Syndigo, the things were different. So mostly we have to there are 2 paths. So we have to monitor as well as we have to add the functionalities as well in the current pipeline. Apart from that there are many upgradation which also we are doing. So if I tell in a layman's term how a typical day looks like, we start our day for understanding what all the pipelines got failed, why it failed, what is the analysis we have done, how we have fixed it. So this is what the discussion which we have with the VPs of the company. And then once we have a different meeting for say what upgradation we are doing, right? I mean, how it is impacting in terms of the overall picture in terms of the business. So that is one discussion. So I mean, this is what as of now it is going. Mostly I can say, I think it's similar for most of the people, because uh, not only creating the pipelines, also monitoring and upgrading, or say optimizing the pipeline. Yeah, that's a major part for every person who is working with data field. So yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. So, I mean, having, as you mentioned, that a typical workday of a data engineer is basically on not only creating data pipelines,
Yeah.
but also optimizing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, how does what goes into developing a really optimized or an effective data flow? What are the considerations that you will be taking into?
So again, it depends, I mean, the tech stack which you are using. So say from Azure context, one way, I mean, say if you're designing a pipeline, right? So you can directly design it using ADF, which, because ADF will give you more of predefined activities, right? But say if you want more more control on your data, more transformation or complex transformation you want to do, then in terms of in place of data flow, you can use notebook activities, right? Apart from that, say if you're writing SQL queries, right? So say you have 2.6 billion record, right? So use concepts indexing when you are scanning the data, use proper partitioning, right? So that the computation cost can be saved. So those are some of things. Apart from that, also you have to take care of the data quality checks, so that when you are loading the data from the sources, it should not be the computation which you are providing, or the transformation which you are doing on the data, that should be proper. It should not be you are recomputing, or say reprocessing the same data again and again. So say we use different layers, right? Bronze layer or silver layer or gold layer, right? So say once we get the data to the silver layer, right, and then we perform aggregation or some transformation, and then say we are moving to the gold layer. So it should be done layer by layer, so that that can give some better understanding. And also the clumsiness of the data should not be there. And also now coming apart from optimization, you also have to think from the data governance side of view, because the data is increasing a lot. Apart from that, you say working bank, right? So we have to comply with certain GDPR. We used to take care very seriously the processes and all. The data masking, right? I mean, you cannot expose the customer data to the outside world. So those sort of things we used to take care on a serious note. So yeah. And also you have to plan your data. The pipelines should be the way it is growing. So say if you are getting around 50 GB of data per day, right? And all of a sudden, say, because the same 50 GB will not be there every day, right? Say after 1 month or after 2 months, say it changed to 100 GB. So your pipeline should be flexible enough to accommodate those changes. So I mean, you have to keep in mind those parameters as well, when you are designing or developing those pipelines. So yeah.
Right. So, Amit, that was a real good insight into a high level understanding of how to design really good, effective data pipelines. So, what, as per you, are the key technologies that one should prepare on to be successful in data engineering domain? Also, what are the additional things that they might have to focus on in terms of DSA or, SQL, as you mentioned, highlighted, and how important is cloud in the current age?
So the major tech stack, or the major the key skill which according to me is SQL and any programming language, be it Spark or be it PySpark. So that is two things which covers around 50% of your technology, and most of the time you will be working on all those sort of things. Apart from that, coming to the cloud, it is important, and I can say it is very important, because the way companies are opting to different cloud vendors, right? And the ease which it provides to the organization, say in order to scale, in order to set up the infrastructure. So also it is cost effective. On the second side, it is easy to use as well, right? So that's why the clouds are getting a lot of advantage. Apart from that, security is also one of the reason, your data is getting secured, and there are many uh, checks which is already performed by different vendors, right? When they are giving you their services, there's a dedicated team, right? I mean, say when we used to when we were using Azure, we used to directly deal with the Databricks engineers. So they are uh, a couple of engineers which is directly mapped to the specific client. So if you have any issues, or say if you want anything which you want to understand, you can directly set up a call with them and understand those things. So I can say the support is really good. And apart from that, the key skill, I can say, understanding the data, get a good grip on your data, get a good grip on your domain, what exactly you want to do with the data, how you want your data to present to other teams. So say in our case, we used to do the transformation, right? And then it is getting used by the machine learning engineers, so to train their models. So we used to keep in mind that, okay, how we are transforming those data, and what are the different file formats which we want to write it, right? I mean, so those sort of things, you have to take into consideration.
Yeah, summarizing there, having domain knowledge, having a good grip on data, these are the key things that I could understand
Yes,
from
absolutely.
whatever you have spoken about. So lastly, this question I cannot skip at all. Being an interviewer, part of the interview panel yourself, your experience would be really insightful for people who are wanting to be data engineers, aspiring big data engineers. So if you could throw some light on the interview process as such, or even the pre-interview process, wherein how to draft a good resume, how to build a powerful professional platform account like LinkedIn, right? And how to apply for the interviews, and how does a complete process look like?
So resume is something which is the very first step, in order to get into the organization, because it is not manually scanned. It is mostly scanned by softwares like what we call ATS, right? So while when you are drafting your resume, be very mindful of the fact that don't bluff on the resume. To be honest, be honest with the resume, and take put proper keywords, because keywords is something which helps you a lot. Try to put it in a concise way, don't go beyond 2 pages, if you are more experienced. So if you are say around 2 or 3 year of experience, try to put it in a single page. That will that will save a lot of time, and also it looks more crisp and good. Coming to the the interview, taking interview is more challenging, I can say, rather than working, because there's a lot of responsibilities on your shoulder, and also you have to take very quick decision, in say 45 minutes or 1 hour time. So see, mostly when even either I take interview or give interview, so it should be more like a discussion, I can say, where you should not look it as an interview, rather than just look it as a normal conversation between two person. So that basically ease out your the anxiety, I can say, or that gives a lot of confidence. And try to give the interview. I mean, I can suggest don't skip it, because at the end, see, if you don't get through the interview, at least you learn, right? I mean, there are a lot of things which you have to learn, right? Be it the questions or the expectation in the market. So I can say, I mean, try to attend the interview. The stages basically, it depends, from organization to organization. Say if you are interviewing for a service based organization, so usually 1 to 2 technicals, and then followed by HR. Okay, that basically for your salary negotiations, or your, if you have any question, you can go and ask them. If you are interviewing for a product based company, so say when I was interviewing for 𝐶𝐽LX, the process went for around 1.5 months approximately, and it was around I think 5 or 6 rounds of interview in total, where 2 technicals were mostly focused on the DSA and the system design. Then I have a managerial interview, which again focuses on the big data tech stack and some problem solving as well. Then I had an interview with HR. Then I got into interview with VP as well. So it depends on the company to company, but on an average, I can say you can expect somewhere like around 2 to 3 interviews. So I mean, minimum 2 technicals or maximum 3 technicals. That basically covers your problem solving and your conceptual part, what exactly has been done in terms of your project. So those are the interviews which he is looking for. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So lastly, I just want to know that what would be the expectations from the companies, from people who are belonging to different experience levels? Since you have been through that phase, if you could give us some information there.
So if you are under 3 or 3.5 years of experience, even if you know the basics, company basically expect that, okay, that he can learn from them because he has a base setup, right? He can build on top of that base. If you have a working knowledge on that, that is added advantage. But when you see if you're going 5+ or 6+ years of experience, there's an expectation which got drastically changed. Now the expectation is basically, your language should be good, you able to write PySpark code. So say when I was getting interviewed, right? So directly I used to get when I was interviewing for Paytm. So they just give it a snippet from the project, and they directly ask me to write the PySpark code, proper PySpark code, all the imports as well as the the syntax as well. So these things can be a bit lenient, when you have less experience. But yeah, obviously when you have more experience, obviously your responsibility will grow. When say you are a lead or you are a senior engineer, right? So because you have to then again manage a team as well, right? So you have to be very good with your understandings. You have to be very good with your core concepts. So yeah.
So it was such a pleasure talking to you, Amit. Thank you so much for sharing all the information with us. And I am confident that it'll be helping a lot of our audience out there.
Yeah.
And we wish you loads of success in your future endeavors as well.
Thank you,
Thank you, Amit.
And one more suggestion which I want to to all the future aspirant. See, the beauty of IT, what I believe, you can start it from any point of time. Even I have seen people who is having a 2 year or 3 year of gap, but it's all the willingness, what is required, the will, the willpower, in order to succeed. So just keep focusing, keep practicing, and keep learning. That's what I can say. Because and also try to find interest in IT. I can say it's really it's a beautiful world. There are a lot of challenges which you have to solve, and yeah,
very interesting as well. If you guys enjoyed the video and found it informative, do show some love and support by subscribing to the channel, sharing it. And if you have any queries related to career in big data, do let us know in the comments and we will try to address them in the upcoming videos. Thank you so much for watching.